Hi everyone, my name is Maurice Otieno. I'm the Executive Director at Baraza Media Lab, which is a media incubator based out of Nairobi, Kenya. I have bought cars 4 times. I've owned 3 of those. One, I helped my mom to purchase one, and I've purchased, how many? I've purchased 3 for myself so far, and the experience is crazy. Every car has its own stories, and some of them confirm some myths that you hear in Kenya, like, Toyota is the best, or buy cars from Indian families because those are the best or well taken care of, or buy a car that is owned by a lady, previously owned, because that is a good car. So all these myths, but then I think my experience has been a bit different. Like, first of all, my latest one was I used a platform, which I'll not mention, to get a car. And the car turned out to be good from the outside, but the engine is done, But the challenge is that the person who was selling it, when you ask them the questions, of course, they are very confident to tell you, like, no, this car has never had any issues. Then a couple of years later, you discover that the car was basically almost like a write-off, And this after you've really put in a lot of efforts and money. So I think it's a jungle out there. It's like it's shamba la mawe, buying a car in Nairobi. So my experience has just been of lack of trust and pain, especially buying a car. And I think my last experience was awesome. And I can't wait to just share with everyone about that experience. So I met a friend, and I was, as any other Kenyan, we complain a lot. So I was complaining about my car, and complaining about how I might go bankrupt because of just fixing this one car. You're just one thing. Let me fix this one thing and it will be okay. And then he introduces me and says, hey, do you know this company on James Gishuru? It's called Peach. And I'm like, no, I have not heard of them. So he tells me, just walk in. He introduced me to one of the team members. Tells me, walk in, have a chat with the guy, tell him your challenges, and they'll figure out something. And I came to Pitch on James Gishuru, met Zach, one of the teammates, and he walked me through the cars that they have. But at that time, I had this cancer, which is my car, that I could not get off my back. And I kept on trying to fix it, although I knew that the best option was to just sell it as is and get a car from Pitch. Because I think one thing that drew me to coming to Peach was the trust element. Remember, I'm somebody whose trust had been broken multiple times. Heartaches, kuvunjwa roho mara kadhaa, And now I was at this point where I'm being told, like, you have this car, and they know all the problems that the car has. So when you're buying it, you know. So I bought my first car was a Toyota Vitz, the old model. A blue Toyota Vitz with a butterfly sticker on the side. It was showing my feminine side. That car was the most economical, fun car. But when I was buying it, I remember the owner was like, oh, it's a 1500cc. It's very rare for you to find a 1500cc car. Yes, of course, they shared the logbook. But then when I came to discover, when I went for like these normal checks, it was a 1000cc. So some of these things that you don't know, because again, I'm buying a car, I'm not a mechanic, I don't need to understand everything about a car. I just need to know, can it function, can it move from point A to B? But all these other technicalities was things that I never prepared myself for. Then after that, I had a Pajero, so quite a jump. Joe Momoka, then you have a bit of money, you're like, okay, so let me go up. I quickly came down because that Pajero has really drained the financial capabilities that I had. Because I kept on trying to fix it. Changed the engine, repainted the whole car, did a whole interior. I was about to change the gearbox when now I was giving up, So I gave up and sold it as is, without fixing anything. I just moved it on, Yeah, so I met with Zach to come and just to walk him through my experience. And the first thing that he told me was, please come and let's check your car, because they also sell cars. So I was like, oh, maybe hopefully they can sell mine. And oh boy, I wish you saw my face after the meeting, because that's when I discovered that my car had a nose cut. So they cut the front part and replaced it with another one. I never knew. That's when I discovered that my car was in a significant accidents that affected its structural form. I never knew these things, you know. These are things that you get surprised when somebody opens it and you're like, wow, so even though kunaendanga, like, this is how the cars are being sold. I opened the anyway, I went home disillusioned because they told me like they cannot sell my car, which pissed me off that they say they cannot sell my car. But it also got me really excited because then I noticed that the people that I can trust, if they cannot buy my bad car and resell it with their good conscience, then probably they'll not sell me a bad car. So it was demoralizing, pissed, but also happy and trusting, you know. So it was a mixture of feelings in there. I don't want to tell. The good thing is that when I was disposing my car, the person who bought it is a mechanic, so they knew the problems that the car has. And when they bought it, of course at a throwaway price with an estimation of how they're going to fix it. So I felt in my conscience I was so happy because I knew I did not do what people are doing of selling a bad car, and you know, I sold it to somebody who knows the car and knows that the car has its own challenges. So he bought it off me, and I remember even before he bought it, I'd given up. So I came to pitch and quickly asked for someone to help me find a car, because again I need to move around, and my car is grounded, and the person who's buying it is buying it in piecemeal, you know. Then wakupati pesa mara moja. So I was like, okay, let me figure out how to find finances and get a car. I never anticipated that it will be very fast finding a car the way I did. So that meant that I had to really hustle to get the financing in order. But we found cars on day 2, cars that I was ready to take based on the experience that I had with my previous one. I'd become almost like a guru of checking cars, you know. Is it a previous accident? Is there something that they're concealing? Is there any electrical challenges? Those are things that I learned, to be honest, and it's painful. It's like a master's that you never attend class, but you pay for it. No, it's crazy. So pre-purchasing experience for Peach was actually awesome. I remember I got introduced to Eric, and what he did was basically, you know, you go to a doctor and they ask you questions of when did you start feeling this way? So in my case, they did not ask me how I started feeling, but they asked me, what do I want? What are the needs? And understanding like my needs from a family perspective. And also we have to be very clear that some of these decisions, it's our CEOs, our wives who sometimes make the decision. So also understanding like what is her need, you know? And she came about and was very, he was very good about just asking me the right questions that made us to land on an SUV that is a Toyota, you know, or a Mitsubishi of a certain level of fuel consumption. So all those things were things that he deduced after asking me questions. And then that was day 1, and then he shared 2 photos, and there was one car that was here, and I looked at it, I was already good to go. Then he shared more, and I got more confused because now the more he was sharing, the better they were, you know. And I remember we were stuck on 2 cars. I was stuck on a Mitsubishi Outlander and I think a Mitsubishi Outlander and a Mitsubishi RVR. And when I was just about now to move money to buy it, it was bought off. I remember losing hope at that time. Even my wife was like, we're not going to find a better car like that one. Then he immediately shared another one, which is a Toyota Vanguard. And we didn't wait. We were just like, okay, we are coming now, and we're coming to get it. And that's how we moved on in terms of just getting the car. And immediately we saw it, it was really awesome. It was a very clean car, very good condition. Then we went through that process. I think start to finish, it took us 2 days to get a car. And the funny thing is that, which was also not, I felt guilty of making him work over weekends, but we closed it on Saturday and Sunday. By Monday I had a car, and at a good price that I wanted, and at a good condition that I wanted. Then I come to get it. and then I'm surprised by a voucher of 5,000 Kenya shillings of fuel. You know, that's full tank, especially in these times of 150 Kenya shillings for per liter. So I get that, which also excites me, and they do the entire process of like moving from teams to like the car is washed, there's like the first service is clean, like the car was perfect condition. Yeah, so that was my pre and post sales of the car. And I think even after that, getting calls to just ask like, hey, how is the car doing? You know, see kama some platforms you'll buy a car, then the guy disappears even off the platform. The car starts knocking the next day, you know. This one was more of like, is it still okay? If it's okay, then what would you like? A service, you know, a car wash, or there's this event. So it's not just about selling you the car. It's about your life needs that the car also is part of, you know. Like, oh, do you want to go golf? Do you want to go for a car wash? Do you want to do service? So those questions that are being asked after, for me, felt as if I'm part of the family of Peach, you know. I think the logbook transfer took a sitting for them to just move it, but I was given a heads up in terms of a cap maximum 2 weeks maximum, but I was told I could wait. Yeah, it depends, because now that's more of a government process on the other end. But in terms of transferring to my account, was like instantaneous while seated. Yeah, it feels like a family. It feels like it's not just about the car. You know, it's about peace. It's about trust, which you don't get that a lot in this jungle that we have of car buying in Nairobi. You know, you don't get a lot of peace and trust and family. You get a lot of like very transactional and, you know, biashara. Like sell the car, go, sell the car, move on, you know. And sometimes not even sell the car, sell the damaged car, you know, and move on, like pass on this monkey to another person. That's what it feels like in Nairobi. But again, for me, that whole experience just brought trust and peace. Like, I know I can wake up in the morning, start the car, and it will start. And I'll go where I'm going and come back. Like, I don't think of, you know, the way you drive and you hear sounds in your car and you're like, what is that? I think that's you know, I knew all the car parts and even the sound that they make. I think I spent more time at the mechanics than driving the car. You know, and that is a feeling that you don't want to have, especially if you have a young family, you know, food prices are skyrocketing, then the car is also bringing crazy headaches. You don't want to be in that situation. So for me, it gave me peace. I think I'll stick with this one for a while. I'm not going to change any car anytime soon. I think it's very rare do you find gems like those ones, and that experience. So for me, I think I'm going to stick with the car that I have right now for a while, and if I'm going to dispose it off, I'll come same place, you know, to just sell it. So I think if you're a first-time car owner, I'll definitely urge you to come and find peace. You don't want to start that financial struggles and it's your first car. If you're a multiple car owner, this is the place. Like, the peace that you get, it's worth it. It's worth the time, the money that you spend. I found my peach. Yes, I found my peach.